you to take a look at your record, and I'd like you to think about what it's telling you. What kind of things would you now do with your students with this visual record in front of them? Let's just brainstorm for a few minutes. How would you use this information for discussion purposes?
Well, I would discuss the fact that the water cycle is not a circle. It is a cycle, so there's no beginning and no end. Because a lot of people think that a cycle is a circle and you always go in the same direction and always do the same thing over and over in the same order. And that is not the case, since everybody's is different.
And on page 2 in your guide, there's a diagram of the so-called water cycle, but it's not a circular thing at all. It's got arrows that go every which way. There's lots of different things going on, so you might refer back to that. What else? What else are we going to do with this wonderful record?
I would tell them to think about just all the, all the different directions that the water goes, and then when you get to animals, just think about things like, I think it's kind of mind-blowing to think that the water that you're drinking right now, how many million years ago a T-Rex peed it out, or how many coyotes and other animals have actually utilized that water. Once you do even get into the animal beasts, I never got there.
They believe that the water that we have on Earth, number one, all the water that we have is all the water we've ever had or ever will have. And a lot of this water originally came perhaps from ice that was in meteorites, that hit the Earth early on. There's all kinds of interesting ideas of where some of the water on Earth has come from. But it's a limited resource. And I think that's very important to understand that, the T-Rex may have.
Oh, he did?
Oh, yeah.
Send me right now.
They're really great, yeah.
You could put a chart, you could make a chart, how many soils or how many clouds did you do?
And I think it would be interesting to make a class graph to see who was where and how many, and then what could you relate that back to? What have we done so far that you could tie this back to?
Oceans have dominated.
Yeah, if the oceans were, look at what Tony has. He was an ocean guy. He was on the ocean, or in the ocean most of the time. And I think you'll see that in the class graph, that the two places that the water seems to be occurring the most are the oceans and the clouds. So you'd see that. So it becomes a wonderful way of creating a graph. With the older kids, there's a variety of different ways of graphing. You want to do pie charts, go ahead with the older kids, the younger kids, just bar graphs. But it's a really nice tool. What else?
I
Yes.
think the other thing that is critical, not only just noticing that most of the water goes from the ocean, the clouds, the ocean, is that you, as a water molecule, may never become beneficial. You may never be able to be used by an animal, the soil, the lakes, the rivers, or anything. You're stuck in this pattern where you're not something that benefits anybody. You're not able to be used like to grow plants.
I never thought of it like that. That's an interesting perspective.
It's stuck in something else. It's not a beneficial use.
But it's still a part of the
It's a part
totality
of,
of the
yeah.
planet, yeah.
But that you're never able to become.
Oh, yes.
One of the things I recognize is the randomness
Finite.
of where it can happen, where it can go, and the different combinations that can happen. Number one. Number two, what happens if one of those things, the river dries up, that stops that source right there as to what can happen, what's going on.
But still that water
It's
has to
still
go
there,
somewhere.
it had to go somewhere and stuff like
Right.
that, but that source of going to other places from that location is gone.
Right, exactly. So that water molecule is now, until it
So-
finally comes back and rains over there and the river swells again and it all begins again. Right.
I think too, it's important to point out how water changes from salt water to become fresh water. It has to evaporate and go into the clouds and then the clouds move over the land.
Yeah, and what happens to those solids that are a part of the ocean water? Great discussions. Okay, what else can you do with this? We're missing one big piece here. Go ahead.
Well,
Cynthia,
it's,
right?
yeah, it's probably not the big piece, but I was just bringing up the fact here of the, did you know, bringing that out, it says in a 100-year period, the water molecule spends 98 years in the ocean, 20 months as ice, 2 weeks in lakes and rivers, and less than a week in the atmosphere. And so that they can see kind of the big picture of how much time you spend as a molecule in the air.
Yeah.
Just a thought, like one observation is, one part of the model that isn't represented is water that would be usable, but then becomes unusable because of contamination. You know what I'm saying? There's nothing that really incorporates that in this particular
Exactly,
thing.
it does.
Just a thought, you know, because that's the thing that I think it's important that they appreciate is, like we said before, the very small percentage, then X amount gets removed for all practical purposes for a long period of time.
You see how the puzzle keeps expanding, and there's another piece that we can put in.
Yeah.
Depending on the age range that you're dealing with and the complexity that you want to develop, yeah.
Just one of the other points I wanted to say too is if you start changing the dynamics of what's happening within and the balance and everything else, it starts shifting everything on that way. For instance, the ice caps start melting, putting more water in there and stuff too, so it starts speeding up the cycle in that area and everything else, and causes other things to take place also.
Let's bring climate change into this. Here's another piece of the puzzle you can stick in there. You can make this as complex as you want, yes.
Yeah, so I think dovetailing with what that element's saying is, you know, the whole interconnectedness of everything and how it's essentially a domino system. So there's a thread that runs through all of this, and that is that if you put it all together, it is our ecosystem. So all of these elements together have to cooperate, or else if one goes, then we have the resultant impact on all the others until they can all get back to where they were, if that's possible.
You see how this very simple activity becomes a lesson that incorporates quite a bit of higher level thinking, which is where we need to be headed with our kids.
It'd be cool if you could get them to, like, see if they can make the inference and model, like, say, the melting of glaciers by taking the beads and pouring them into the rivers and the ocean.
Oh, wow. You can play with this in 1,000 different ways, yeah. Yes.
I've got 2 comments. One is have them write a story about their life, and so you incorporate the literature
writing.
end of it. And then also what I have done, because I travel a lot and have to carry a whole bunch of stuff, is I just carry the little bitty dice, which is 6-sided, and then I have a sheet of paper that has these on it. And so then they roll a 1 and it's a stay, and they roll a 2 and it's so that you don't have to carry the
Well, these
the
are
dice.
huge. I will tell you, as I said, I made these at a workshop.
Right, and so
over-
these are gonna be a lot
They
easier to
are.
carry
Sure,
along.
Yeah, I think I made these over 2 bottles of wine. Which is why there's an awful lot of wrinkles.
Starting off with coffee.
I'm a fun girl, we really do have fun. But that's a great workshop.
Just one thing I wanted to add to it and stuff like that is that we're looking at the water molecule as it stands and stuff like that in its purest form. One of the things we keep forgetting is that water also is an adsorber as well as absorber and stuff like that. So any changes in the atmosphere such as CO2, other things, the water has a tendency to absorb that into its molecular structure, goes into the ocean, lowers pH, changes the
That's true.
quality of the water.
You can see how we're going from 3rd grade, that we're just moving on up in complexity and what you want to bring into this picture. Like I said, there's all kinds of things you can do with this, and that's great. Some great points, everything. Any other points about the incredible journey? It's just one of my very favorite activities, to give credit where credit's due. This is a Project WET activity.
I have a comment, I think. So I coordinate the annual Children's Water Festival over at Fort Lewis College. We're on the 18th annual, 700 kids throughout the basin attend, including all 4 5th grade classes in Pagosa. And these guys have done the incredible journey. It takes like 100 volunteers.
MK and Gabby did it this last
Yeah, to put this
Was it
thing
you?
on as far as
Where was you
presenters.
again?
And don't the kid, and these guys do the incredible journey as one of the stations that the kids go to. And from when I've been passing by, I mean, they were having a blast.
It's
That's
really
fun.
fun.
They were having a blast. And didn't you do it out? You've done it inside and outside.
I've only done it inside. I think I've done it 2 or 3 times
Inside?
inside.
Yeah. But they end up going fast and like trying to make a race out of it.
Oh
and,
yeah, they want to get
you
there as
know,
many times as they
yeah.
can.
And so it really is, the kids love it.
Yeah.
They really, really seem to enjoy it a lot.
And we use the check sheet. We just have laminated ones that you can wipe off. And every kid wants to tell you where they went when they got done. And they'll go through it. They're like, first it was a cloud, then it was ocean, 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 cloud, ocean.
Which is why I like to have them write about it, because when they write, they cannot write. First I went to the oceans, then I went here, then I went there. Okay, what happened to allow you to change? You have to expand on what you're telling them you're writing. And that's a little more difficult for them. But then again, it's bringing in all the process and getting back to states of matter, which is the overall standard that we're trying to meet here with kids. And you had one last comment.
Well, when I have them when I have them tell, I have them say, I evaporated from the ocean and then became a cloud and moved over the land and precipitated as rain and became part of the soil, or, you know.
Using the vocabulary.
So when I have them explain, I have them include all of the processes.
And we do it with.
And you haven't explained the animal portion.
Well, they love that.
They love it, yeah.
peed and I ran into the river.
And we do it with the water cycle chart on the board up front, so they can see what's happening, so they can kind of use that if they're uncertain about how they got from one place to another.
Just to let you know, if you're doing this would be a great time, either at the beginning if you're into introducing vocabulary early, which is a good ESL technique, we all know that. But pages 1 through 5 in this book talk about the water cycle and a number of the different terms that are used to describe what happens during that. So you might incorporate pages 1 through 5 of this book.
Are you aware of what the sales price is for that particular
This
text?
book is not, well, it says $16.95. I don't know where you get a hardbound copy. We don't sell them.
We have them at the
Maria's
Nature Center in Farmington.
Maria's probably has them in Durango.
Maria, so basically what she's, there's a hard copy and
And a
a paperback, and you can order them online through Amazon.
This one?
I think so, yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
but-
and Maria sells the paperback version, and so does
So
the
does-
San Juan Public Land Center.
Yeah, but
$10.
wait,
The
but
paperback.
don't forget, I just picked up 18 boxes.
True, we do have some that we can
At
actually sell.
my-
Can we sell them? I
office.
thought the money had to go to, do we own the rights?
Oh, I don't know.
Uh,
Is there an issue with that?
Renee, let us know.
For you, we make special deal. For you, we talk.
And anyway, keep in mind that these are in the
I didn't know
elementary
that-
schools already.
I don't know how it
I
works. I
love
haven't
how
actually
it's
sold
set
any
up
of them.
with
I
the
thought we had
children's
some
drawings
that
and
we
the
could do
children's
that.
quotes. And
These
I
were-
love how on the
yeah.
far right hand side, every single time there's something connected to the more educational, that's perfectly educational as well. So it's very unique format.
The pictures were done by Laura Cruz, 3rd grade classroom at Needham Elementary in Durango. So they're very local. It's
Well, the quotes show you how the children have incorporated their understanding of the concepts there, so I really like the setup of it. It's really
And
great.
there is a hard to find link on our website that has the imagery of their and the stories and not quite full stories, but some quotes associated with each child's picture. It's a little bit of a dated website interface now, but I think it is a great example of how you could easily create a blog or something like that that could go along with some of these exercises to make that connection for kids that are alive. That's a living document now.
okay.
I have
Yes.
a question that's not related. You made a point that you never pre-teach vocabulary. Is that?
Because I usually teach from 5E model, engage, explore, explain, that kind of thing. And I like kids to discover vocabulary as they're doing an activity. Rather than saying, okay, open the book, write down the words at the end of the chapter and their definitions, and then maybe we'll do an activity that ties to it. To me, that's not science. Science is discovery and building vocabulary through investigations and observations. So that's the way I operate. And those words that we discover during the explanation phase of an activity will become words that go up on a word wall and that we use over and over. So unfortunately, not unfortunately, we do need to pre-teach some vocabulary in some instances, and especially with students whose first language is not English, we do need to pre-teach some vocabulary because they just need that background knowledge. So you have to use your own judgment as to what you're doing. That's my rationale. I think it's more meaningful when they have some basis on which to place that vocabulary word rather than just some nebulous term in the definition.
Well, you know, when you get it a little bit, you know, by 7th grade, 8th grade, there's like pronunciation problems too, so it's almost, the introduction, just kind of pronounce a word is pretty significant.
But you can do that as you're working one-on-one with a student. We actually have a name for this, and this process is called sublimation. Let's talk about that word for a minute. And then you can do that with the whole class.
It also lends itself to note-taking so that you can help them understand what the salient points are, and you can review them afterward and say, hey, did you get this vocab word? That would have been note-taking.
Lots of techniques, I know, but that's just the way I operate. I'm gonna stop because it is Denise's, no, Marcy's turn to come in and take us to the river.
Do you want us to put these?
Yeah, we
dates
should better